Fender's Stratocaster is one of the most iconic guitars ever designed. The story goes that Leo Fender decided to improve on his success with the Telecaster by more closely involving guitarists in the design process for the Stratocaster. Like, how would they improve on the Telecaster, what would they get rid of, what features would they add, and so on. Good idea, right? Here's the thing though. Have you ever heard the expression, a camel is a horse designed by committee? What that saying means is, where one person's single vision for a design tends to stay clear and focused, a bunch of people all trying to get their ideas into the same project often ends up with an incoherent mess that doesn't really satisfy anyone. Okay, so on the other hand, the Strat has plenty of satisfied customers. You're not going to run out of examples of celebrated guitarists who use Strats. But when I pick one up, I still feel like it's a bit of a camel. I'll explain. What I've got here is a Fender Classic Series Stratocaster from around 2001. I own this guitar, just so we're clear that I'm not criticizing something I haven't personally invested in. It's completely stock, and if you're wondering about the iridescent color, I don't know if you can see this, but it's a chameleon paint job that changes from magenta to green depending on how the light hits it. It's an FSR, which stands for Fender Special Run. It's got a bolt-on maple neck and a 21 fret rosewood fretboard with a 7¼ inch radius. Instead of alder, the body is poplar, which is what a lot of early 2000s Strats were made from. It's got 3 vintage-style single-coil pickups, it's got a 5-way selector switch, it's got a master volume and 2 tones set in a 3-ply mint green pickguard, and it's got a 6-screw vintage-style vibrato bridge. If you asked Fender for a vintage-style, 60s-style Stratocaster, this is basically what you'd get. It's made in Mexico, so it's not top of the line or anything, but to most people this is a very decent Strat. It's in drop C at the moment because I haven't been playing in standard tuning for a while now. It sounds like this. So why did I get it, if it's a camel? Well, you see, the thing is, I do like Strats. An absolute ton of guitarists that I admire play Strats. I listen to John Mayer's Continuum, and I fantasize about getting some of that sweet Strat tone that he gets. The internet is just full of amazing players getting amazing tones out of their Strats. And they look cool too. I mean, they're just iconic. A white 60s Strat is, in my opinion, one of the coolest looking guitars you can get. But this is maybe the 5th Strat that I've owned, and like all the others, I can't seem to make any sense of it. Now, I know I'm not an amazing guitar player. I do okay, but I'm not exactly what you call a virtuoso. One of my strengths, though, is that from very early on I've taken pride in being able to get a good sound out of pretty much any piece of guitar gear. Show me any amp or pedal and I'll find its sweet spot. Give me any guitar, no matter how weird or difficult it is, give me 2 minutes and I'll get a tune out of it. But every time I grab one of these, it's like I'm 10 years old again and I have no idea how to make it work. Just to be clear, I'm not saying I can't get a usable sound out of a Strat. What I'm saying is that in order to arrive at a sound that I consider acceptable, I have to change my amp settings and my effects settings and my playing style to such an extent that I'm totally uncomfortable and I'm unable to express myself like I would be able to on literally any other guitar. And forget about replicating John Mayer's gorgeously fluid tones when I feel like my sound is garbage and I'm playing with 2 left hands. I know what you're thinking, and you're 100% correct. The problem isn't the Strat, the problem is me. I've been playing guitar for over 30 years now, and for the first 10 of those, I don't think I was ever even in the same room as a Strat. When I first had the opportunity to spend time with a Strat, I was already so comfortable with Les Pauls and Telecasters that my one impression of the Strat was that it didn't behave at all like a Les Paul or a Telecaster. And yeah, in hindsight, I know how obvious that sounds. But when you're 20 and you've got shows to do and you've got one good amp and nobody's told you any different, you don't think, I need to spend more time trying to understand this guitar. You think, to hell with this thing, and you put it back on the wall. So yeah, that's my mistake. But not the Strats don't have issues, to be fair. Like, look at all these body contours, like the arm cut and the belly cut. The Telecaster never had anything like this. Look at all the edges of the body, this soft radius, clearly a lot of attention paid to ergonomics, right? So that being said, why is the volume pot in the exact, precise spot you're gonna knock it with your fingers? I mean, that's if you put your hand where most modern rock guitar players put it. Which is not a great idea, because if you rest your hand on the bridge, you're gonna put your guitar out of tune. But if you attempt much more than a wobble, it's gonna go out of tune anyway. Another huge problem with this kind of bridge is that if you play a unison bend, the fixed note is going to drop out of pitch. Unless you set it up to have rock hard tension, like I do, in which case you might as well just block it off anyway, because you'll sprain your wrist trying to use the whammy bar. Speaking of the volume pot, do you see how there's only one, but you have a tone pot each for the neck and the middle pickups? But then, no tone pot for the bridge pickup, even though that's the pickup that really needs one. The Fender Esquire came out 4 years before the Strat and has both a tone pot and a fixed tone roll-off for the bridge pickup. So why doesn't the Strat even have one? Okay. This is a design from 1954. That's 68 years ago. 68 years ago, I think it would be fair to say that the music I play basically didn't exist, and nobody played guitar the way that I play guitar. So it's not really fair for me to attack the design. And there are pretty easy fixes for these issues as well. I could move the volume pot. I could rewire one of the tone pots to the bridge. I could block off the trem. I could upgrade the pickups. But the thing is that every single one of those changes moved me further away from the classic Strat that I covet and that so many guitarists manage to play so wonderfully. And closer to a guitar that looks kinda like a Strat, but may as well be a completely different guitar. Like I've said, I accept that the problem is me. And some of you will listen to my playing in this video and say, look dude, Strats aren't for you. Just don't play Strats. And that's logical, but I guess the point of the video is this. I've known a bunch of guys over the years who, when you hand them something unfamiliar, they'll fumble around with it for a little while, and then hand it back and say something like, oh yeah, I don't play these. Like it's a choice they made rather than something that they can't figure out. Some of them even go down the road of, oh yeah, these are garbage. I've always promised myself that I'd never be one of those guys, and I'd always try to get the best out of whatever I play, whether it's a custom shop guitar or a Behringer pedal. So I guess this is where I turn it over to you. Please leave me a comment down below with any suggestions you might have as to how I can improve my relationship with this guitar. I'm open to any decent idea, whether it's practicing a certain type of playing, or upgrading the pickups, or dialing in the sound differently, I don't know. It's up to you to tell me where I'm going wrong and how I can fix it. Or maybe you're like me, and there's a kind of guitar that you really like and lots of people play very successfully, but you just can't quite get to grips with it. Either way, let me know in the comments, and who knows, maybe we can all help each other out. I'm counting on all of you. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.